It was an international search and rescue operation that captivated the world.
They've got a lot of people heading over there and helping, but the field in which they're looking is massive.
But these voyagers in the deep were taking a terrible risk.
Anyone in the exploration business of the deep sea expected this to happen. We knew this was going to happen at some point along the way.
The promise of adventure at this fabled site would end in disaster.
My worst fears, as of Monday, have now been realized. 2 friends of mine are gone.
St. John's, Newfoundland is a rocky outpost on the edge of the North Atlantic. Its deep water port used by fishermen and traders and adventurers heading to the wreckage of RMS Titanic. On Friday, 16th of June, a supply ship called Polar Prince slipped out of the harbour, setting a course for the southeast. On board, an experimental craft, a submersible, built by a company called Ocean Gate. Their revolutionary structure, called Titan, would make the ocean depths accessible to all. The hull, made from carbon fibre with titanium ends, and it boasted the largest viewport on the market. The founder was a maverick engineer called Stockton Rush.
I'd like to be remembered as an innovator. I think it was General MacArthur said, "You're remembered for the rules you break." And I've broken some rules to make this. I think I've broken them with logic and good engineering behind me. The carbon fiber and titanium, there's a rule you don't do that. Well, I did.
But a trip on Titan came at a price, around $250,000 per ticket. And joining Mr. Rush on this trip to the Titanic were the following self-described mission specialists. Briton Hamish Harding, he'd made a fortune as an aviation broker in Dubai. Paul-Henri Nargeolet, a French adventurer who helped to run a company that exhibited items recovered from the site of the Titanic. And they were joined by a father and son, businessman Shahzada Dayoud and his 19-year-old son Suleiman, both British citizens. Shahzada's sister said the trip was really important to her brother.
It was a Father's Day thing. It was a bonding experience. And, he wanted the adventure of a lifetime, just like his father did, because his father wanted it. And that was Sulti all the way. He would do anything for anyone.
We've traced the supply ship's movements with Marine Tracker. The Polar Prince, with the submersible on board, took 46 hours to reach the site of the Titanic, 380 miles from St. John's. But when they arrived, the weather was poor, something Hamish Harding wrote about on Instagram. The worst weather in Newfoundland in 40 years, he said, but a weather window has just opened up and we're going to attempt a dive tomorrow. They planned to make their descent at 4 a.m. on Sunday, but the start time was delayed. They began the dive at 8. These pictures, taken from the Polar Prince, are the last images we have of the vessel. 1 hour and 45 minutes later, Polar Prince lost contact with the vessel. Almost 10 hours later, the supply ship raised the alarm, informing the U.S. Coast Guard that Titan had gone missing. Nobody had ever dealt with a situation like this. There was a missing 22-foot submersible in waters 4 kilometers deep, with no plan and no vessel to conduct a rescue. The U.S. Coast Guard needed help.
This is a complex search effort which requires multiple agencies with subject matter expertise and specialized equipment.
The Canadians offered planes, the French had equipment, and the British personnel, and a host of private companies offered support, but the weather was atrocious. On the first day of the search, ships and planes reported 0 visibility. The people of Newfoundland knew it would be tough. We interviewed the Premier of the province.
We've had one of the worst springs on record, the worst spring since 1943, which of course is bad enough being on land. It's Absolutely terrible being 600 kilometers off our shores. We're talking, 12-foot waves, heavy fog, very difficult search and rescue conditions.
They've seen tragedy on the high seas on this island before, and they've mounted complex rescue efforts from here as well. But no one, not the Americans, not the Canadians, have been involved in an operation like this. Not at these distances, and not at these depths. Members of previous expeditions organised by OceanGate came forward, citing concerns about safety and communication failures on board. The company sent 28 people to the wreck of the Titanic last year. Industry insiders said they'd long raised concerns about the submersible's design.
Anyone in the exploration business of the deep sea expected this to happen, and we knew all the difficulties there would be about how do you recover from that. If the sub is stuck on a shipwreck, if they lose batteries, if they're caught on the bottom some other way. And nothing was done about it. There are no policies, there's no plan, there's nothing.
Within a matter of days, St. John's became the staging post for this dramatic ad hoc rescue mission, and we saw supply ships like the Horizon Arctic being hurriedly loaded with a deep-sea winch and a sophisticated submersible lent by the US Navy. And the operation was given new impetus when officials said sonar buoys had picked up repetitive sounds in the ocean. Were the 5 men still alive in their chamber? A friend of P.H. Najolet said the French explorer could keep them alive.
I believe it can be one of the solutions to this situation.
Right. You believe that even now, do you?
I believe till the last moment.
Specialist equipment like deep-sea submersibles, or ROVs, began to arrive at the search site, one brought by French research ship L'Atalante. Still, officials knew that Titan's oxygen supply would be virtually depleted if the vessel was intact. But the owners of its supply ship, the Polar Prince, remained optimistic. The Polar Prince lost contact with the submersible on Sunday morning. I mean, realistically, how optimistic are you that you will find the submersible and rescue the men on it?
The equipment that's been mobilized for this is the finest in the world, the most capable in the world. We have to hold out hope. I think, as you're aware, there's still life support available on the submersible, and we'll continue to hold out hope until the very end.
On Thursday afternoon, 4 days after Titan had been reported missing, the US Coast Guard released a message on social media. A debris field was discovered within the search area by an ROV near the Titanic, it said. Experts are evaluating the information.
I think this is significant. I think it is highly likely to be very significant.
David Mearns is a rescue expert.
Sky's Mark Austin was interviewing a deep-sea specialist called David Mearns at that moment, and he'd received his own information directly from the search area.
It's being relayed from the ships to the president of the Explorers Club, who's been across this entire thing for the past several days, that what has been found in terms of debris is the landing frame and also a rear cover. So it means the actual hull hasn't yet been found, but 2 very important parts of the whole system have been discovered, and that would not be found unless it's fragmented.
It was a difficult moment for Mr. Mearns. He had a close relationship with Hamish Harding and P.H. Najolet.
My worst fears, as of Monday, have now been realized. And the only thing is we've gone through these 4 days of concern and worry and hope and praying that the outcome would be different. So, yeah, 2 friends of mine are gone.
This morning, an ROV, or remote operated vehicle, from the vessel Horizon Arctic discovered the tail cone of the Titan submersible approximately 1,600 feet from the bow of the Titanic on the seafloor. The debris is consistent with the catastrophic loss of the pressure chamber. Upon this determination, we immediately notified the families.
Coast Guard officials were unable to say whether they'd be able to recover the bodies. The aunt of 19-year-old Suleiman Daoud said her nephew didn't even want to go.
Suleiman, he had a sense about things, and he had a sense that this was not okay, and he was not very comfortable about doing it. To be honest, as terrible as it sounds, at least knowing that they wouldn't have had time to know, they would have just been sat there enjoying themselves, and then suddenly, boom, and it was over. To know that my Suldi didn't feel a moment's pain.
Adventure tourism has its limits, and those who offer such experiences will face greater scrutiny and inevitably regulation.
There does need to be more regulation. I just hope that there's a way to do this more safely, but not to stop it altogether.
Titan's crew held a passion for exploration, which has ended at the bottom of the sea, their resting place now shared with those who lost their lives on the Titanic. It may be prudent to leave them where they are. John Sparks, Sky News, St. John's, Newfoundland.